Hey, this is the tear down vault, which does pretty much exactly what you would think it would do. It takes an existing website and takes a look at its current state and what we could do to make it better. Pretty much does this right here. So, looking at the graphic, depending upon what kind of site you have, it will figure that out and it will offer you good contextual advice for that type of site. So, you could read the instructions here, but I'm going to go through an example. I am choosing to hate to do this because I hate to pick on any particular brand or anything, but since I'm familiar with these folks and they're really great and the product's really great. I have no idea if they're converting or not converting. Think it needs help or what. So this is very unsolicited, not really advice. So, but this is the idea browser. Whole point of this site is for indie kind of builders to come here and get an idea that's been fully researched, and they can like go off and quickly get going on a build. So you can see what the headline is: unlock today's free startup idea. They have huge database, and then they do a lot of research on trends and things, and they demonstrate marketing insights and that type of thing. So what could be wrong? The site looks like very lovely. Um, but nonetheless, I've chosen it to do a teardown, and I've already actually kind of run this in advance just because this video could get really long. So uh, the skills that you get in the pack are at least these. And I have included this here because I have a lot of skills in my Claude Cowork, and I just wanted to limit what it would pull to those pretty much. So you wouldn't have to really add this right here. Um, Instead, I've just sort of contrived a problem. I have no idea how many visitors they get, um, and what their sign up rate is. So I just contrived a worry and provided a URL and then turned Claude Cowork loose. And so you could see kind of the commentary of what was going on. This probably transpires within, I don't know, I would say 10 minutes or so, that I'm kind of saving you, although I'm way over talking here. But anyway, it tells us I'm going to tear down your site using the full diagnostic stack. Let me start by invoking the site teardown skill. You can see some of these skills kind of invoked there, running the skill. And then it says, let me fetch your site and read all the diagnostic frameworks so I can run the full teardown stack. So it's literally going off and driving the site. Would probably have been a great demo if I would have just let it do that. But it goes through the pages and looks. You could see the integrations here where, well, I guess you can't see them, but it's doing some get tabs. So it's trying to figure out what is the current state of this thing. And says, got the hero. Let me capture the full page text. That's the full homepage. Let me quickly check the pricing page. So it's going through the site. Um, Your home page is a content showcase pretending to be a landing page. So that's the first sort of hard truth that it's giving you. And it's going to give you a report. I've already got them over here kind of queued up, but essentially kind of giving you a summary of the findings, and then you can read the full report here. Um, it You could read this text, but it says rebuild the homepage emotional sequence, lead with pain, show how it works in 3 steps, add proof, then ask for sign up, which is obviously a little bit different than what we're seeing here, where we're just getting just a demonstration of some things versus sort of an emotional plea. Um, Add social proof above the fold. Uh, Greg's face, the founder or co-founder, I think it is, uh, really lends a lot of credibility and authority. So it's saying we should, get that guy right up in front. Rewrite the H1, give it kind of a more tasty headline that probably uh, aggravates the pain. So, or gives you a solution for the pain. So anyway, here is what the report looks like. Um, all these things are essentially talked about in depth. It actually goes through a little bit of a rubric here on some things. By the way, it does kind of give a formula for what it thinks the product value clarity should be. Um, but then it goes through and it scores on a rubric, and obviously you can see it's on a scale of 10. You want to be closer to 10. And it's uh, Gosh, I hope these folks are not going to be upset to see this. But anyway, 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 6 out of 10 is really good for complexity perception. Switching cost, 4 out of 10. Gets into headline analysis, sort of 12 out of 30. It says weak, below the 18-point threshold. Thinks we could do better to trigger somebody with a headline and get them scrolling. So let's see, the proof audit. This is essentially, does your homepage convince me that you can actually do what you're claiming? And so it looks for um, proof and grades on that. So go through here, talk more about proof, and then it tries to assess the current homepage emotional sequence, how it breaks down, and then what the sequence should look like. So you could see kind of the where we are now and then where we could be, and then a little bit of a talk about the content and how it holds the user's attention, and then intensity and targeting. So I could exhaustively go through this. I think you can see it is pretty thorough, maybe perhaps too thorough for people. Um, Breaks it all down and then adds, what are the priority fixes? And so a thing that you might not do is just come in and just clobber the whole site and put all the fixes in at once. You might iterate and take a high priority fix, make that change if it works within the site. In some cases, you might have to make two or three related fixes for it to all make sense. But do a thing and then test, maybe A/B test it and see. So that is the teardown. We also have this other thing that we go through, and I asked it, okay, now run the offer teardown on the pricing page. So it's trying to get to, are we making a good offer that people uh, are more likely to go for? And so, it's pointing out a few things. The biggest issue, annual only pricing with hidden guarantee. Uh, the three tiers pretend to be one product at different sizes. The proof doesn't match the tiers, et cetera. And then we could go off and look at the the offer teardown, and it's similar thing. It's got a formula, and it goes through and says, here's what we do, here's what's missing, and then recommends basically essentially the fixes. And you can see it's very thorough and detailed. The same thing might be true here. You might modify your offer a little bit at a time, um, and see how that goes. You might A/B your offers, just keep your old existing um, plate of offers, and then test this one, or test some variation of that with this advice. And then a thing that I did, which is sort of basically the teardown is done, but like, what would it look like? And so I asked, all right, since Claude is really good at creating React artifacts, just whether you use React in your implementations doesn't really matter. It builds React interfaces, and I just find that, okay, cool, I can see what it looks like. I'm a very visual person. So after all the words are said and done, let me just see something. And so I asked it to basically create a React artifact, and it goes through and says, here's all the things that I did on the thing that you will see. Um, and like, here's the redesign that I'll show you in a second. And then here's what I did on the pricing page. All things just naturally following on um, from the two documents. And I took a look at this, and unfortunately, you won't be able to see the initial version, but I asked it to improve the design. It's still not great. Actually, I previewed it. But Claude itself provides us this front end design skill, and I just asked it improve the aesthetic. And in the first version, it was showing me in line. It was calling out all the improvements, and so I just wanted to experience the page without the improvements, and then go into a mode where I can see the improvements, um, described. So I'll actually show you that, but it goes through it exhaustively, tells me what it's done. So here's actually the page, and the reason I say it doesn't, it's not as lovely as the one that is out there now. And I think what you would do is you would take the teardown and the offer advice, and then you would roll through with a good design. But it's basically saying, okay, here is kind of a more pain oriented or more value proposition oriented headline versus maybe what we had, which is unlock today's free startup idea. Um, Start with triggering some pain, uh, and then start rolling through the emotional sequence. Um, if I show the teardown notes, you can see uh, Greg's uh, Greg's credential was buried in the pricing page, but we bring it up here. So the proof audit actually raises up in its score. So we see essentially, hey, built by Greg Eisenberg, and that means something to some people because look at his credibility. And we move along. We're talking about the problem and finding ideas. Actually, it says the real problem isn't finding ideas, but uh, we're moving along. I guess I should show the teardown notes. Added missing pain and problem awareness stages. Okay. And then no product walkthrough existed on the homepage. So this basically gives you, maybe it was common sense, but find your idea, validate and research, build and launch. And then, a little bit of a before and after, some testimonials that are from real founders with real outcomes. And then down here, some expires at midnight urgency to close it out. And then on the pricing, I didn't actually look at exactly the what it was suggesting, but I think I remember something about annual versus monthly. So it's got a monthly thing here. But you can see this is probably not what you'd want to deliver, but you could take the advice, go to your designer, rechannel this beautiful design, and start tinkering around with something else. So that's the teardown vault. Um, you would do this for yourself. You could do it on competitors. You just could satisfy your curiosity in whatever way that you would want to. And that's pretty much it. Cheers.